Hey guys, welcome to week 2 of Wellbeing Wednesday. I hope you guys took my challenge of trying to make connections with your students. I'm here with Mike Jones, and he's going to tell us some of his strategies.
My absolute favorite way, and I'm a big believer in this, is you got to recognize it when kids do something good, and this especially applies to what we would deem the troublemaker kids in our rooms, right? You've got these kids who are used to getting all these negative comments from teachers, right? And they never get any positive reinforcement. So if I see one of these kids do something good in my classroom, I will immediately write home to mom and dad and tell them all the great things that their student is doing. I don't say anything negative. I only tell them the positive things that I saw. And from then on, that student is going to be a completely different student in my classroom. They respect me, they do better at obeying the rules, they're better behaved, and you've got a student and a parent that are by your side forever. They're going to be loyal to you because you aren't trying to degrade their student. They know that you're on their team. So that's one of the ways that I've used to build positive relationships with students.
That's great, because usually if parents have a troublemaker kid, they already know it.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to hear about it anymore,
Mm-hmm.
so that's great.
And the cool thing is those parents they're expecting to, when they see an email that says their kid's name in the subject line, they say, "Oh no, my goodness, I'm going to get another terrible
What
email."
now?
Yeah, serious. And then they read what you say, the good things you say about their student, and a lot of parents will write back and say like, "Wow, your email brought me to tears. I was totally expecting something awful, and you said something great. Thank you so much." And they're like indefinitely grateful because you have pointed out the good in their child.
That's awesome.
Every parent wants to hear that.
Totally. Yeah, one thing that I do, I don't necessarily reach out to the parents every time, but I'll write on a sticky note like, hey, I noticed that you did this and it was awesome. And I don't make a big deal about it. I just go and stick it on their desk. And I've had kids come back. Just last week, I had one from 3 years ago come back and he had it in the back of his phone. And he was one of my biggest troublemakers. So definitely like little notes of just like recognizing that you see the good in kids is a huge thing. Thank you. Okay, Emily, how do you make good connections with your students?
Um, Wait, let's start over. Can we start over? Okay, wait, is this only going out to the faculty?
Yeah, I'm not going to sprint over though. Just keep going. It's great.
Okay. Okay, sometimes I threaten them, which works really, really well, and then they kind of chuckle, but no, I'm just kidding mostly. Okay, art is a really great way for us to make connections because we can talk about things that maybe they're doing in their life that matter to them, and then they can, draw or paint about those things, and then we can kind of talk about it, like, oh, you love soccer, or oh, you love baking, or oh, you love whatever. Actually, right here, let me just find one really fast. Like you can see, we just did these little Rizzy paintings, and it was so fun because you can see she loved piano, she loves to hot showers, she loves to go to Chick-fil-A, right? And so those were things that, like, as she was painting, I could discuss it. She loves pizza right back there in the background. So that was a fun thing. Another thing is just while they're painting, I love to wander around and just visit with them and just say, I don't know, one or two little things, maybe something to kind of get them going. Some of those hard kids that are really quiet never talk much at all, but I always will say, hey, how you doing today, or what's going on, and probably embarrass them a little bit, but I feel like we do make connection. So that's all I got.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, King Bass going to give us some strategies on making connections.
All right, when I want to make a connection with a student, really I found one of the neatest and easiest things to do is just to listen carefully to what they're saying, look at them while they're talking, and occasionally say it back to them. When they know that I hear them, they're a lot more receptive to what I have to say after that. I also like to tease them, and I tease them relentlessly and mercilessly, really I do. And I do both these things because, well, I think it's important to make connections because they're important people, and they need to feel like they're important people and know that they're important people, and that's what I do.
That's huge. Thank you. All right, Mike Maloof's going to share why making connections are important with your students.
So I found in the last 12 years that making connections with students is probably the best classroom management that I have. You can get students to really follow anything, read anything, buy into any curriculum, as long as you've already got them on your side. So that's one of the first things that I do in the whole school year is try and make some connections with the students. I tell them stories about myself, and I let them tell stories about themselves, so we kind of build a classroom community. And really, I don't think they would want to read a lot of the things that we read, or I don't think they'd be as willing to do some of the assignments we do if they weren't, I guess, what you would say, like on my side. And so I think one of the best classroom management strategies you can have is just build those connections with students, which can be tough with some of them. You really kind of have to dig deep and be patient and find out what their passions are and what they're interested in. But long term, the benefit is it's definitely worth it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. What awesome teachers we have here at Timberline. That was just a handful, and they all had such great advice to share. I'm so thankful for their wisdom, and I know that I can always call on them for help when I'm struggling with students, or you can say, hey, I noticed this student's doing really well in your class, but they're sure giving me a hard time. Do you have advice for me? And that's just one strategy to help make connections again with your students. Making connections with your students is really the way that you're going to create a safe environment for them at school where they feel like they can learn and, take off that armor that they put on when they're around their friends or their family and kind of unload so they can learn. Students can't learn when they're not feeling safe or they feel like they have to protect themselves. So it's our job to make connections with them and let them know that they feel loved and they feel safe. And I think if you think back to why you got into teaching in the first place, that's probably why you did it.